Sinamkela kakhulu SABC 1, one of the aspects of Madiba's life, Utata Wetu, that has become evident these past few days is that Utata loved to laugh, he loved to love, and he also loved to cry. His life story and achievements speak for themselves, but all characterized by determination, courage, and conviction.
Now, the big question is, how does it take and what does it take to live by these principles? Now, Madiba is certainly a very difficult example to follow. However, South Africa does have its young icons who are striving to do just that. And we're now joined in studio by Pepsi Pukane, a content and media strategist, and also Kanye Makubane, a poet, journalist, writer, and radio presenter. Welcome to the show. Good to see you guys.
Thank you very much.
Good to see the young people who are going to be moving us forward.
Absolutely.
Let me start with you, Kanye, because, I mean, given your scope, there are a lot of things creatively that you do. How do you think the influence with that will help shape what you ultimately want to achieve?
Robert, I'm a storyteller. One of the things that I'm very passionate about is getting people to become more conscious about themselves and the world that they live in, to understand where they're coming from, where they are and where they're going. And sometimes I find that as storytellers, whether we are filmmakers, as in my case, or we are broadcasters, we forget that we have a very influential role to play, in helping people to shape, their own thinking in society and how they can move themselves forward, because there are so many obstacles in life. You have financial obstacles growing up, you have family problems, you have whatever kind of problems. And for me, I think it takes a type of consciousness, to say, this is how I'm moving myself forward. And I think that's what that does for us. He opens our mind, he opens our consciousness to say that it doesn't matter where you come from. I mean, who would have thought a young boy from Unu, growing up in Mveza, would grow up to lead the world and be a world leader? There has to have been a process of consciousness in his mind, that took place. And that, for me, is what I take forward each and every day.
And Pepsi, that's exactly what you deal with, is that consciousness. Because not only are you a producer of media and you've given us incredible content over the years, but you also almost have to be a forward thinker, and you have to preempt what we'll be going through as South Africans, especially the youth, because this is what you do, is you tell us about our lives. What are we going to talk about in the future? What are the stories we're going to share? What is the content that we're going to try and drive and try and steer our people in the right direction? How do we start today, the day after? This is the first day that we don't have Utata in our lives.
I think that's part of why I've been thinking a lot this past week, and thinking, okay, he was 95. Generally, when somebody that old passes on, the level of grief is it's not like what we're seeing right now, but it feels like the end of something.
Yeah.
It feels like the end of an era where these are the people that were there when the Freedom Charter was being drawn up. These were the people that they lived for certain values and they espoused certain values. And I think that's what has kind of gotten all of us, because I think we're all a little bit scared about what now.
We can't deny that.
We're all a bit scared about, okay, this is the end of an era. We had some moral compasses. These are the people that are, Ahmed Katara called it the A-team today when he was making his speech.
Yes, and he was joining the A-team up in heaven.
And he's one of the last remaining members of this A-team. And I think we're all wondering, okay, like, what now? So I don't know, Do
you think it's a case of, because Robert and I have been asking all our guests this week, do you think it's a case of, do we trust ourselves enough to take on this legacy? Because the relay has begun. Do you think that's what we're dealing with?
Someone's going to reach out.
I think for me, it's there.
Someone's going to reach out.
So, yes, I think this is the perfect time for us to interrogate this freedom that we've had for the past 19 years. This is where the true value and its worth, without Utata Madiba, without our greats holding us. That's what we need to see. You know what I'm saying? Because the South Africa we're going to see from tomorrow morning really does spell out the true future of South Africa as the greats, as the legends, as the stalwarts, as they all pass on. We have to deal with the reality that each and every one of us that are here today, the true test of what we've learned, the true test of what we've taken from them is going to show now. Are we going to fall apart?
Moses, just thinking about
are we going to fall apart? Is this the time where we say, should I have learned something? Could I have said something? Could I have picked up something? How do we start dealing with our government? How do we start dealing with each other? So I think Utata, has set a very good example for us to say that you have to have a vision for your life. You know, you have to know, I think it's going to take each and every South African to kind of make it work, because now we are getting into a post-Mandela South Africa. We never thought that we'd get to that day where we talk about a post-Mandela South Africa. But what does it look like and what does it entail? I think young people like Pepsi and I, who are in the media, who are shaping the content, who are shaping the social discourse, need to take people there, as you say earlier on, to say this is not the time for us to be afraid and to get a little wobbly. Yes, we may find it will wobble a little bit, but we've got to trust ourselves as South Africans. We've got to trust the values that we want to live. We've got to trust ourselves. Otherwise, we'll never get it right.
Yeah, I think also a lot of things come through, and God bless you with your callers that are going to be coming through on SAFM, because there's going to be a hell of a lot of debate that comes through and opinions that get formed and formulated. And I suppose, again, perhaps it goes down to what sort of level of strength people have, the courage that they have now. And do they wait for affirmation from somebody else to say, maybe potentially you got leadership skills, or do you just take it upon yourself?
You know, I think, firstly, you know, the combination of characteristics that you got in Madiba, and couple that with his leadership quality, and it's very rare. So you don't have to be a Nelson Mandela. Yet, you know, at the same time, I think we've come to live in a bit of fear. You know, we're all afraid to say what's what and what's happening, and you know, so I think that there's a bit of fear right now about speaking up about what we're happy with and what we're not happy with. And what I feel like this weekend, I feel like I don't have an excuse to fear.
It's very
do you know what I mean? I don't have an excuse. I'm like, okay, what am I? So,
Fear's not part of the equation.
You know, a friend of mine once said, rather speak up and be wrong than keep quiet and be right. You know, take the chance and speak up and be wrong, and be the bigger man and say, I was wrong.
And the truth is, we're not, I mean, let's be honest.
Yes.
Like, our culture, our politics are, we're a bit quiet.
Yes.
We're not as active as South Africans as we should be.
Yes.
I mean, all of us here, like, we should be saying a lot more, but you know, it's like, so, but we're scared to speak out as much as we should.
I think that's what we need to take away, that we need to stop fearing, we need to stop being courageous. And more importantly, we need to start trusting ourselves, because without the trust, we won't have the conviction. Without the conviction, we won't have the results. I think it's as simple as that, and translated into you being the best version of yourself that you can be. I think that's the best thank you we can give Odada, and we thank you so much for coming through and making sure that you're watching the show as well. After the break, we have a very special tribute from a man described as the voice of South Africa. He preempted we'd be ringing the bell when they come back, and indeed we did.